Hi, everybody. Today we are talking about the artist Mónica Arreola from Tijuana, Mexico. She was one of the artists included in the 2022 Whitney Biennial. She is an architect and visual artist who primarily works in photography. She was born in Mexico in 1976, and her education includes a master's degree in modern and contemporary art, as well as some further studies in curating. Her work that was selected for the Whitney Biennial is an untitled photograph from her series Valle San Pedro. These photographs include images of semi-abandoned developments in Tijuana, Mexico. President Calderon of Mexico had initiatives to create sustainable subdivisions in housing, but they were largely affected after the U.S. housing crash that eventually dominoed to the Mexican housing crash. Areola says that she takes these photographs in order to, quote, trigger a series of critical dialogues of failed architecture. She states that in her landscape photos, she has to work quickly and at the same time try to coordinate everything around it. The need for working quickly is because of safety issues. She describes that when she goes out to scout areas and to take photographs, she has someone present in her car as well as a man who is a bodyguard so that she can come out, quickly snap the pictures, and then go away. Something that is characteristic of her photography work is that she takes pictures in overcast or cloudy days. She believes that this brings a greater intensity and volume to the image. She is not attempting to create an idealized photo of the location. Rather, she is choosing to hone in on the details that show the impacts of the recession in Mexico. If you go to the artist's website, you will see a collection of various projects that she's worked on. I chose to focus in on one titled Texturas Urbanas, or Urban Textures, which she worked on from the years 2008 to 2012. Her website describes the work as images that describe geographic differences, contrasts in urban and irregular landscapes, empty spaces, and roads in a naturalistic, spontaneous, and ethereal way. I chose some selects from her Urban Textures series that I believe fit in line with the work that she presented at the Whitney Biennial. Here's one example that shows what they described as the overcast in her work. As you will see from the series of images that I selected, they either have very cloudy days or dense fog that create this sort of desaturated ambiance and heaviness to the images. Now, something that's extremely important to understand regarding her work is that she is hypercritical of social media and the passive nature in which people interact with photographs, particularly photographs that are of a socio-economic or political or heavily charged nature. So she takes her photographs in an effort to present something for critical discussion, not to just passively consume. Here's another example from the series that has her characteristic cloudiness or really dense fog, overcast, and you have almost a stage set in the way the composition is, where you have these characters and stage props almost. So you have this sign and hill or mountain, whichever it may be, in the background that is somewhat faded but it's dark and it's looming, almost leaning over all the other things in the image. Then you have the lines from the power lines directing your attention from the car that's facing the viewer's direction but towards the bottom corner, but it is the only thing that has light that is still struggling to show through the overcast. So those power lines bring the viewer's attention from the headlights up towards the sign and then traveling through the dense fog, the air, to that post, and then all the way towards the left in this really misty, foggy air. At the same time, you also have the horizon line of the road that gives you this foundation for the photograph. And then you have the lines on the road themselves, as well as all of these construction traffic cones or barrels, also directing your attention towards the left. So there's a sense of movement, and this, I believe, really reflects the idea of Areola's comment when she said that when she takes a photograph, she really has to stage the items. It's not something that she just gets out and snaps. Is that she has to take a moment to really consciously compose her photograph and the things in it. Now we're going to look at one last example. Again, we have that characteristic overcast, cloudiness, fog, but we have a repetition of the power lines again. So it seems that Areola likes to work with horizontals, verticals, and diagonals in her photography. You can see in this one that again it has that sort of directionality of something coming out towards the left side. So it's angled slightly so things sort of recede towards the right and then open up as they go towards the left. That gives the viewer something to anchor themselves to as they travel through the image, looking through this environment that's present. What's interesting about this particular photograph is that there's an intersectionality about it that creates a bit of tension. So if you look at where those mountains or those hills are in the background, as well as where the light post, or excuse me, the electric post, and sort of that dirt mound and the road, there's a spot where they sort of intersect and create almost a perfect cross of lines, a perfect, almost like a target. If you could see towards just off center, towards the bottom third of the image. That is a very strong focalizer, a very strong compositional element. But as seen in some of her other works, she dedicates the bottom portion of the image to the ground or land, and she gives the majority of the space towards the sky. This gives the feeling that this is an environment that you can move through. Although you are not moving along the road, you can almost navigate and feel what this environment feels like to be present, to be there. The irony of that, or I should say the parallel, is that her photographs were intended to create an intersection for conversation. And here is an example of a photograph that has a very literal intersection. She has many, many projects that she worked on, but I believe that these select photographs that I shared, amongst others, are very in line with the work from the Whitney Biennial. So thank you, everybody, for your time.